Hey guys, it's guess what? Sovereign time yet again. And this time we've got a couple of videos, and this is part one. A couple of videos which go through some sovereigns in detail, and you'll see some great sovereigns in this particular video, including the early Queen Elizabeth sovereigns, sovereigns from South Africa, Canada, Australia, the UK, mostly kings, in fact all kings and a few Queen Elizabeth sovereigns. And then there'll be another video along pretty soon, which will be a lot of the earlier sovereigns. So this is part two of quite a big sovereign collection that's being sent for grading. So you might think, why am I starting with some graded coins? Well, these ones were graded for my friend, and he wanted to get the GB label put on these coins. So since I'm sending quite a few back anyway, I'll then send these back and have them relabeled and reholded with the GB label so that they match some of the others in his collection. And if you remember a while back, you saw the I think about 50 sovereigns go to NGC, and they all came back with these spectacularly amazing grades. At least most of them did. They all belong to this same member of the Silver Forum, and so he's dug out another few sovereigns from his extensive sovereign collection, and he's giving me the privilege of sending them over to NGC to be graded. And whilst there's quite a few common ones in this box, there are also quite a few interesting ones, including quite a few with the small head that was evident in the later years for the Melbourne Mint and the Perth Mint. Also South Africa as well. So let's have a look and see in detail some of these beautiful coins. So, Edward VII, and this one is minted in Perth in Australia. In fact, all of these coins, one thing you will notice about them all is they are all in pretty amazing condition. And in the last lot that I sent from the same source, quite a few of them came back even better than were expected in terms of grades. 2 or 3 of them came back with condition problems, things like the dreaded surface hairlines, but most of them did as well as expected, or a little bit better than expected, which was pretty good. There's a lot of these sovereigns here. So the King's 1904, so also beautiful condition. And you can see when you start zooming into these coins that most of them are pretty much as they left the mint. Tons and tons of luster, lots and lots of detail. Obviously they're all MS grades, but it may very well be that some records will be broken with some of these coins. I suspect some of them might get top grades at NGC. I don't know for how long though, because there are more and more sovereigns being graded. I think for a long time sovereigns were something peculiar to the UK, and of course a lot of people in the UK who collect coins had traditionally shied away from grading. They got kept in cabinets and in folders and in those kind of nasty little kind of white coin holders that you kind of staple in place, which seem pretty dangerous to me. But now I think, because so many of these kind of coins are being sold on a world market, not just an American market or not just a British market, you're seeing a lot more interest in the UK in grading these coins. If you go to a coin show in England, you'll still see almost every sovereign is ungraded. So it may be that there are many, many record-beating sovereigns just waiting to be discovered. Throughout this video, you'll see comments like normal or common or rare, and just for the clarity that you might want in terms of those grading, those gradings are taken from the Marsh Gold Sovereign book. Common is pretty common, normal is slightly rarer than common, and rare is slightly rarer than normal. And then there are R1 grades up to about R7, which denote how many it is believed are left in the wild. And I think when these grades were originally, or when these rarity values were originally decided, I think that Michael Marsh had taken a very, very careful note of populations of each of these different coins that he saw. And the rarity values, obviously they can get adjusted as time. If a hoard of sovereigns is discovered, then the rarity values will change. But basically they represent, over a large number of years, how many of each of these coins have been seen in for sale at auctions and in the wild, and during the process of discovery when Michael was writing his book. So what you may find interesting is that quite often coins that are scarce now actually had very high mintages, and that's because there's millions of these coins that were destroyed by melting, and so you can quite happily get a coin that had even 18 million of them minted that can be a rarity. If they all got taken out of circulation, and when you look at coins, sovereigns which are a little bit older, like 1817 to 1820, there were a lot of those coins minted. Really very few of them survived because they actually changed the whole coinage in 1920 going into 1921, and they actually pooled and recalled as many of those sovereigns as they could. And of course, a lot of them were used for general commerce transactions as well. And because they were used for commerce, they wore out very easily. Interestingly, the half sovereigns, I think, wore out even more easily and lasted only a few weeks, sometimes, compared to the sovereigns. But one of the things that they kept doing is pulling back the sovereigns that had been worn and lost a little bit of their weight, and they kept replacing them with new coins. So a lot of the early sovereigns, very, very few of them survive. Although if you watch my videos, you probably think that sovereigns were the most common coin in the whole world. And certainly there are a lot of them around. But as well as being reasonably common, you can still buy a lot of these sovereigns, maybe not in this particular condition, but you can buy them pretty close to bullion value, spot. In the UK, you have to pay spot plus 3% to spot plus 5% for something which is not in numismatically brilliant condition. But that means you can often pick up, for fairly close to spot, early Victorian coins, which at some stage may very well get a slightly higher numismatic value. Very, very nice. The small head sovereigns have always intrigued me, and I have actually bought one of those, I think a 1930 or a 31, from one of the guys on the forum. I did a swap with something else, and that's coming to me at Christmas time over in America. So there'll be an unboxing of my, I think, 1930 small head Melbourne Mint sovereign. And I will be looking out for some of those others, because I like any of the variations where the mintages were low and there's a bit more rarity. I guess I'm probably a little bit more of a numismatic sovereign buyer now than a bullion sovereign buyer generally. So while this beautiful collection of sovereigns is unfolding, let me tell you about the latest sovereign. It's a surprise edition late in the year from the Royal Mint to celebrate the platinum wedding anniversary of Her Majesty, and it's another one of these strike on the day sovereigns, and it's now available on the Royal Mint website. It's £500. It's in brilliant uncirculated condition, not a proof, but it has the same fundamental design as the one earlier on in the year, and it's not a distinctive design for that particular sovereign. So if you do want to buy one of those and collect the whole 2017 set, you do need to make sure, if you do want to grade it, you'll need to make sure that you actually don't open the packet at all. You send the sealed packet to NGC to be graded, and then they can verify the provenance of it and the fact that it was actually a strike on the day BU sovereign for the platinum wedding anniversary. And so over here is the 1952 South Africa pound. Interesting. Don't see those. I haven't seen another one of those actually. So this one's going off to NCS for conservation as requested. And it's interesting because in England only the only George VI gold coins were proofs. This one is a proof, but the other one was not a proof. So it really is, if you want to find these George VI gold coins, you need to look outside of the UK to be able to find them. Very nice coin. And then just to finish off this video, we've got some of the early Queen Elizabeth sovereigns. So there was a sovereign produced in 1953, but it's a very, very rare proof, not really produced for anyone other than VIPs and royalty. Bullion sovereigns started to be minted in 1957 and through the early 60s. And there are also some very specimen special proof sovereigns that were produced later in 1958 and maybe 1959, maybe other years as well. But those tend to be around about $20,000 to $30,000 at auction when they come up, and they don't come up very often. But they're very, very hard to find. These particular ones, look at the luster on that, just great. In amazing condition, and I think that 63 one should do really, really well, and so should this one. So I'm looking forward to getting all these back and seeing how they get on. So if you like that, then watch out for the second part of this sovereign set of videos, which is some of the older Victorian sovereigns.